everyone, my name's Erik Thor, and let's have some real talk here, INFPs and ENFPs, because I've noticed something, and this is a fault of the MBTI, not a fault of you, it's a fault of the descriptions you get, the message and the feedback you get when you find out your personality type. I find that INFPs and ENFPs in particular perhaps get this description that suggests that something must be wrong. ENFPs and INFPs get this description that suggests that they are going to be late to work, that they are going to miss appointments, that they're going to forget about work and lists and doing things on time, and that they are going to be, in a way, disadvantaged on the job market and in life in general. It's like when you look at INFJs and ENFJs and INTJs, for example, you get this list of amazing traits to be proud of. Oh, I'm goal-oriented. All employers want that. I'm always on time. Yes, that's another thing to put on my resume. And I am a mastermind. Yes, it's like we have these associations with the said personality types. That isn't positive, that we have this idea about these personality types, that being a reactive type is the worst thing you can be, to be a perceiving type is the worst thing you can be. It's like when you look at the term adaptive in itself, you're getting this idea that you are some kind of a person that has no opinion of their own, that the adaptive person only does what the environment tells them to do, that they are people that just go with the flow and that have no control, no long-term perspective at all. Well, what I think people miss when they look at perceiving is that perceiving is so much about application, the immediate application of an idea. If we have a goal, if we have a vision, if we have a system, how do we make sure that this system gets the maximum efficiency rate? That's what it's like to be an INTP. If we have this mission, this value we are all working towards in this group, how do we enforce this value in the present situation? How do we live up to that? That's where we need the feeling perceiving types. When you're looking at the different personality types, you're gonna have this idea that proactivity is about control, where perceiving is not about it. It's about letting go of control. But generally, both of them are control strategies, and they have control in different areas. Perceivers tend to have much more opinions when it comes down to how we get something actually adjusted into present reality. Perceivers have a lot of opinions about things like where to put the painting, where to schedule the file, and where to get things down. Like when we are working towards a goal and things come up, perceivers are usually the types that have the strongest reactions to new problems. When new issues are to be discussed, perceivers are the first to notice these issues and to put them on the table. Perceivers see the different options available, and they put these options on the table for all of us to see them clearly. When judging types are so focused on the long term that we tend to miss it. Perceivers aren't doomed to being late, and this is a stereotype that has existed for far too long in the MBTI community. We can associate being a perceiving type with being in many ways adaptive and being about adapting ideas. And often what perhaps brings this stereotype along is the idea that the person who is adaptive might find themselves first noticing one thing around them that needs to be done, and then another, and then going to look at the clock and, oh my God, I'm late at work. But still, what they have been doing, what the perceiving type has been doing all this time until this happened, has been to be efficient. Now, people look at procrastination, and I think they confuse procrastination with perceiving. They consider perceiving types to be procrastinator types. But here, people are misidentifying the cause of procrastination. Procrastination exists with people that have weak schedules, weak systems, and weak products in place, people in place, values in place, missions and visions in place that can guide their thought process. A person that hasn't got a strong system, a calendar, a clock, things around them that can make sure that they get on time is going to struggle with procrastination, because there is nothing that can actually get you to perform on time. There is nothing that can help guide your process. And so in a free process, often when a process is too free, it means nothing exists. Like when everything is possible, nothing is possible. It's difficult to be a perceiving type when there is nothing to focus your mind on, when there is nothing to direct your thought process. Often you want something that can guide your thought process, a system, a value, a goal to strive towards that has been clearly defined and that exists around you, that can constantly boost your thought process, that can constantly remind you that this is important to think about. You want maps, you want lists, you want calendars, you want things around you that can help bring a sense of where we want to go. Now, I notice that judges don't really need this. The fascinating thing about judges is I rarely see them carrying around lists. I rarely see them needing calendars. Of course, everyone who has a lot to do needs a calendar. But a person who has an average amount of responsibilities in life to keep track of also has a working memory to pull from. And the judging types tend to, on average, have a little higher working memories than perceiving types. Perceiving types tend to have slightly lower working memory. And this comes at an advantage. Like lower working memory means you can, for example, take in new information more quickly. If your working memory is full and new things appear, then you go, no, I don't want to deal with this now. I have this working memory, I have this list. But if you're a perceiving type and your working memory is lower and something new appears, then you are much more adaptable and much more quick to go, okay, I'll compromise this task for now and I need to get on this. So perceiving types will often optimize what they do as they are doing it. Perceiving types are naturally thinking about how to improve what they are doing and to get the maximum results out of every decision. To make sure, like I said before, that when you're going to work, that you are getting up on the time, that you are getting breakfast, that you're dressing. There's a system here about how to live, and it's often based on what appears to be the best in this present situation and at this very moment. What should I do right now? What's the important thing? With the judger, it's that you need to have some kind of a plan before you start moving forward. You need to have some kind of a goal in mind that you are working towards. But with the perceiver, you have the freedom to elect your process and to decide where to go. Now, goals can exist in the perceiving type's mind. It's definitely the case that the perceiving type can have strong goals, but often they are externally perceived. Goals are seen as something that other people put on you, that work puts on you, that life puts on you. It's seen in a more objective terms and as less open to discussion. For the judging type, goals are seen as subjective and flexible, and you can constantly adapt your goal as you're going towards it. The judging type spends a lot of time processing and making sure that the goal they are planning towards, that they are working towards, is the best one. And they are constantly seeing, okay, am I moving optimally towards this goal? Am I making sure that I'm getting to this goal at the optimal level? Looking at perceiving and judging, often the case is that the perceiving type is stressed by having to do this process. Stressed when there is too much demands, too much stress from the outer world, too much at work, too strict workplaces that are too inflexible to new suggestions. If a perceiving type has identified that there are things that we need to deal with that are coming up and that nobody's dealing with it because everyone has other tasks, the perceiver is going to be stressed because they see this problem and they see it keep popping up. And it's hard for them to tune out of this, but the judging type can tune out of it. They can ignore it. The perceiving type can't ignore it. And that's so important, because what if this is a really important call that is from a really important buyer? And what if we don't take it and we miss out on a deal of $100,000? If nobody's on the ball, if a new change comes up, if the trains aren't rolling, what do we do? How do we adjust? It's generally the case for a judging type that when these things happen, we are struggling with a key issue. That issue is adjusting the course. Like we go, oh no, I have to take this call from this 100K buyer, but I have to do this. And we struggle with that immediate prioritization. being able to actually understand that a 100k call is a 100k call, making sure to make sure the buses are running and all the decisions you had in mind are actually realistic. I think that's often a blind spot for the judging type, and perceiving types like INFPs, ENFPs need to see and understand that you don't have these blind spots. You have the ability to see things that judging types can't. You are core value to your workplace, and you have so many gifts to offer your workplace. There is so much more to being a perceiver than what people typically know, and the descriptions need to recognize the more positive qualities of being a perceiver, because right now, as it is now, a perceiver is defined as someone who is carefree, humorous, and good at brainstorming and creativity, and that's pretty much it. It's definitely the case that we need more balanced definitions of judging and perceiving, and that we need definitions that can see and truly understand the judging and perceiving process, because like you might know already, the judging and perceiving definitions are pretty inconsistent and pretty bad. It's one of the easiest letters to get the wrong result on, simply because anyone who has to adapt to a normal work environment and normal life has to be a judging type. You can't survive usually in this world as a perceiving type. You usually have to compromise as the perceiving type is defined as it is today. But if we understood what the perceiving type actually was able to do and what they actually were capable of, we would recognize that they are core assets in the workplace with core qualities that all workplaces need. And that there is not the case that we need to have only judges as employers, because a lot of businesses think that way. They ask you to take an MBTI test, and if you're a perceiver, you're out. So take this in mind and think about this, and think about what your core assets as a perceiver are, and learn to realize that it's not as bad as the MBTI makes it out to be. The MBTI doesn't understand you fully. It doesn't see what judging is. It doesn't see what perceiving is. And it's confused quite a few things. And we need to talk about that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to share and subscribe. And as always, may your neurons be with you.